So let's talk about what are the common pitfalls that make beginners fail in this business. And just like we had an 8-step workflow here, there's 8 core themes that I see that prevent people from becoming successful in this space. The first one is working in the wrong markets. This affects like 90% of all beginners. They're haphazardly picking markets, and they're either working in places that are hard to acquire deals or very hard to sell deals. This is the top of funnel in our business. We must select the right market, and if we do that, everything flows downstream from there. Next is they overpay for properties. That's obviously one way to go very wrong in this business, is to pay more than you should. And what happens is you either compress your margins and you don't make as much as you thought, or you actually lose on the deal. This is not a riskless proposition. You're buying an asset, and if you buy it wrong, you can lose money. And unfortunately, I've seen this time and time again with beginners in this space. Now, this can be partially caused through bad comping. People are looking at the most optimistic best case scenario for how they underwrite their properties, because that's the bias that we all have, right? We'll stretch the truth to find comps that support the most appealing narrative. But if those comps aren't truthful to our property, they're not relevant to our property, well, you're going to have a losing deal. And so what you need is a comping matrix, a way to decipher the comps. And the matrix that we've created inside of Leah is called proximity, features, recency. That is our weighted tiered matrix that we use to figure out what comps are relevant and what comps aren't. The next area is having no acquisition process. This is far too common. People have a faulty belief that they'll send out marketing and deals will just land in their lap. Nothing could be farther from the truth. We need an acquisition process that allows us to nurture our sellers, to have the right kind of conversations, to make the right offers, to make the offers on time, to send the contract. There's a process to everything acquisitions. And please understand that deals require work. People aren't going to sell a property to you without understanding the process, understanding you and having trust in you, etc., etc., etc. Point number 5 is having weak marketing. Now, this is true for all marketing channels. You could have bad letter design or bad copy for direct mail. You could have terrible cold calling scripts. You could be using the wrong texting platform or saying the wrong things. I mean, it really is applicable to all channels. Marketing is not the end all be all in this business, but from the marketing that I receive from other land investors for the properties that I own, I can tell you that most people are operating at like a 3 out of 10 in terms of the quality of the marketing they're sending out. The beautiful thing is to improve quality typically doesn't require any more cost. It just requires forethought. Point number 6 is having bad data. You know, when I started in this business, I was looking for what is the cheapest data out there. And that's the criteria that most other people have for exporting ownership data. The trouble is not all land data is created equal. You definitely pay for what you get. Our marketing is all a waste if it's going to bad ownership data. So to resolve this, you want to make sure that you're using a land-specific data platform, which we'll talk about here shortly. And number 7 and 8 are kind of all-encompassing of this. Number 7 is people just frankly lack skill. They discount the fact that they're skilled to running this business. They've been sold a dream from other educators that's simply not true. Send marketing and you'll get deals on autopilot. And because of this, if we move to point number 8, most people quit too early. They don't go through the right education. They never build the right skills or give themselves enough time to build the right skills. They become dissatisfied with their results or lack thereof, and then they quit. What I always tell people inside of Leah is, you know, if you knew that this was going to work, it was guaranteed to work, but you had to wait 2 years or 3 years to see the kind of success that you want, would you stick around? And I think for most people, the answer is obviously, but for whatever reason, in actuality, people don't do that. They don't get a deal in 90 days or 6 months, and they're gone off to the new niche or new strategy that they're now chasing.